There is one question I receive every single week from people with diabetes that breaks my heart a little. Dr. kenD, I ever eat chocolate again? And my answer always surprises them because the answer is not no. The answer is it depends on which chocolate. And that difference changes everything because there is a type of chocolate with a glycemic index of 22, less than a third of white bread's glycemic index, with compounds documented in clinical studies as capable of improving insulin sensitivity, reducing the inflammation that feeds insulin resistance, and even stimulating the regeneration of the pancreatic beta cells that produce insulin. That chocolate exists. It's at your grocery store right now. And the diabetic who doesn't know the difference is either living with unnecessary guilt or eating the wrong type without realizing it. Today, I'm going to show you the 5 types of chocolate a diabetic can consume with the exact mechanism by which each one affects blood sugar, the studies that confirm those effects, and the specific label traps that the food industry hides from most consumers. Stay until the end because the 5th type is the most surprising on the entire list. It's not what most people would associate with blood sugar control. It's the one with the highest concentration of protective compounds per gram of all 5, and the one with the most robust evidence published in a systematic review showing real improvement in glycated hemoglobin in people with type 2 diabetes. I'm Dr. Sarah Walker. Before we continue, if you're tired of receiving generic advice that doesn't fit your real life, advice that tells you to eat things you can't find or afford, I have something concrete for you. I've put together a 30-day guide of breakfast, lunch, and dinner using real, affordable, everyday food. No expensive superfoods, no complicated recipes. It's in the pinned comment right below this video. Did you know that only 1% of the people who watch this video actually subscribe to the channel? If this content is helping you, hit the subscribe button right now. It's free. It helps me keep bringing you this information every week, and it makes sure YouTube keeps showing you videos like this one. The usual reminder, everything I share here is meant to complement your medical treatment, never replace it. Keep taking your medications and attending your regular appointments. Before we get into the 5 types, I need to explain what makes cacao different from any other sweet food in existence. And the answer lies in a group of compounds called flavonoids, specifically cacoins and epicons. The flavonoids in cacao have 3 documented mechanisms in human studies that are directly relevant to the diabetic. The first is improved insulin sensitivity. Cacao flavonoids improve endothelial function, meaning the health of blood vessel walls, which improves the ability of cells to receive the insulin signal and capture glucose. The second mechanism is reduction of oxidative stress. Cacao is one of the foods with the highest antioxidant capacity measured by the ORAC index, and oxidative stress is one of the central mechanisms of insulin resistance. The third mechanism, and this one is especially significant, is documented in human cell studies. Epicin, the most abundant flavonoid in cacao, stimulated insulin secretion and promoted regeneration of pancreatic beta cells. The cells that produce insulin and that are progressively destroyed by the type 2 diabetes process itself. The problem is that these benefits live in the cacao, not in the industrially processed chocolate filled with sugar and vegetable fat. And the difference between the product that delivers these compounds and the product that doesn't can be found on any grocery store label in under 30 seconds if you know what to look for. The first type is 70% dark chocolate, and it opens the list because it's the most accessible entry point for the diabetic who wants to include chocolate in their routine safely. The glycemic index of dark chocolate with 70% cacao is approximately 22. For comparison, white sugar has a GI of 65, white bread of 71. A GI of 22 places 70% dark chocolate in the very low glycemic impact category with slow and gradual blood sugar elevation. The reason is straightforward. With 70% cacao, the product contains less sugar, more fat from the cacao itself that slows absorption, and more fiber that breaks digestion. The Harvard Chan School of Public Health has documented that flavonoid-rich foods can improve insulin sensitivity. And the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition published research showing that regular cacao consumption may reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, which is especially relevant for the diabetic who already has elevated cardiovascular risk. How to consume 20 to 30 grams per day, the equivalent of 2 to 3 squares. This is the portion documented in studies as sufficient to deliver benefit without compromising glycemic control. Not more than that. Dark chocolate has fat and calories, and in excess can raise blood sugar in the hours that follow through the conversion of protein and fat to glucose. The label trap. Many chocolates sold as dark or 70% cacao still have sugar as the second ingredient. Read the ingredient list. Cacao or cacao mass must be the first ingredient. Sugar when present should appear after cacao. If sugar or glucose appears before cacao in the list, the product does not have 70% real cacao regardless of what the front of the packaging claims. In the US, reliable 70% options include Lindt Excellence 70%, Ghirardelli Intense Dark and Green, and Black's Organic 70%. The second type is dark chocolate with 85% cacao or more. And it's on this list separately from 70% because the difference between the two is not just a matter of degree. It's a difference in mechanism and in scientific evidence. With 85% cacao, the concentration of flavonoids is significantly higher than in 70%, and the amount of sugar drops substantially, while 70% has around 20 to 25 grams of sugar per 100 grams. 85% has an average of 10 to 14 grams, almost half. This means lower glycemic impact and higher concentration of protective compounds per serving. A study published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal evaluated specifically the effects of chocolate with 83% cacao in 60 non-smoking patients with type 2 diabetes and hypertension between 35 and 70 years old. They consumed 25 grams of chocolate containing 450 milligrams of flavonoids per day for 8 weeks. At the end of the study, the dark chocolate group showed improvement in lipid profile and reduction of inflammatory markers compared to the group that received white chocolate as control. Markers including CRP, interleukin-6, and TNF-alpha, all associated with the chronic inflammation that feeds insulin resistance, were reduced. 2 Swedish studies documented that increasing dark chocolate consumption by at least 50 grams per week reduced the risk of brain ischemia and hemorrhage by up to 27%. For the diabetic who already has elevated cardiovascular risk, that additional vascular protection is especially relevant. How to consume 20 to 25 grams per day. The flavor is more intense and less sweet than 70%, which naturally helps with portion control because flavor satisfaction arrives faster. The third type is 100% cacao chocolate and cacao nibs, and they represent the extreme of zero added sugar within the solid chocolate category. 100% cacao chocolate is pure with no added sugar, no added milk. It is extremely bitter with a flavor that most people will need a few days to adjust to, but from the standpoint of glycemic impact, it is the safest version possible within the chocolate family. Virtually zero available carbohydrate, only the fat of the cacao, the fiber, and the maximum concentration of flavonoids. Cacao nibs are fragments of roasted cacao beans before any further processing. They are crunchy, intensely bitter, and have even more fiber and flavonoids than processed chocolate because they haven't gone through the refining that reduces some of the bioactive compounds. How to use in practice. 100% chocolate or nibs are rarely consumed plain as a dessert. They work better as an ingredient. A teaspoon of nibs in plain yogurt, in a smoothie, in oatmeal, in a protein crepe, or 10 grams of 100% chocolate melted and mixed with natural peanut butter as a dessert. In small amounts as an ingredient, they deliver flavonoids and antioxidant protection with glycemic impact close to zero. In the US, Nevada's Organic Cacao Nibs, Eating Evolved 100%, and Theo Chocolate 100% are reliable options widely available at Whole Foods and Amazon. The fourth type is sugar-free chocolate sweetened with erythritol or stevia, and it's especially relevant for the diabetic who prefers or needs an option closer to the flavor of traditional chocolate without the glycemic impact of sugar. Erythritol is a sugar alcohol with a glycemic index of practically zero. It has 70% of sugar's sweetening power, but is not metabolized by the intestine in the same way. Doesn't raise blood sugar and doesn't stimulate insulin in normal consumption amounts. When used as a sweetener in sugar-free chocolate, it allows the product to have a flavor close to regular chocolate with dramatically lower glycemic impact. An important point highlighted by diabetes specialists: what matters for blood sugar is not necessarily the percentage of cacao or the more or less bitter flavor, but the presence or absence of sucrose or glucose in the composition. A sugar-free chocolate can be milk chocolate, white or dark. If it has no sucrose, the direct glycemic impact is controlled. Erythritol and stevia, the most common sweeteners in this type of product, have glycemic index close to zero. Label warning. Look specifically for erythritol or stevia as sweeteners. Avoid sugar-free products that use maltitol as the primary sweetener because maltitol has a glycemic index of 52, significantly higher than erythritol, and can raise blood sugar meaningfully, especially in larger portions. Many sugar-free chocolates sold in the US use maltitol without clearly advertising this. Read the label before buying. Lily's Chocolate is a widely available US brand that uses ITHRL and stevia and is genuinely diabetic friendly. And here I want to be honest with you about something. This video is giving you the knowledge about which chocolates protect blood sugar. But scattered knowledge doesn't solve the daily problem of what to actually eat meal by meal. What solves it is having a plan already built. That's what I put together in the Glucose Control Practical Guide. 30 days of breakfast, lunch, and dinner using real, affordable food with everything designed to work together for blood sugar control. I know you may be thinking, I've tried different approaches and my blood sugar is still difficult to manage. I understand that. The difference here is that this guide doesn't ask you to cut everything out. It shows you the right combinations with food you already have. And if at any point you feel it wasn't what you expected, there is a guarantee. The link is in the pinned comment right below this video. The fifth type, and here's the surprise I promised, is pure unsweetened cacao powder. And it tops this list because it is the product with the highest concentration of flavonoids per gram of all five, with the lowest glycemic impact, and with the most robust human evidence published in a systematic review showing real improvement of type 2 diabetes markers. A systematic review conducted by Brazilian researchers at the Federal Flumini University published in 2021 analyzed 7 clinical studies on the effects of cacao flavonoids on blood glucose and serum insulin in individuals with type 2 diabetes mellitus. The consolidated conclusion from the studies, the use of dark chocolate or cacao powder at a dosage of 25 to 30 grams per day may demonstrate beneficial effects on blood glucose and glycated hemoglobin, the HbA1c, plus cardioprotective benefits through increased HDL cholesterol. The HbA1c is the marker that measures average blood sugar control over the previous 3 months and is the primary long-term diabetes control indicator. Why is cacao powder more effective than solid chocolate? Because in the process of making solid chocolate, cacao goes through pressing, coning, and tempering steps that reduce some of the flavonoids. Pure cacao powder, especially natural processed non-alkalized cacao, preserves a higher concentration of these compounds. 1 teaspoon of cacao powder has more flavonoids than 1 square of 70% dark chocolate with virtually no added fat and fewer calories. How to use 1 to 2 tablespoons of pure unsweetened cacao powder mixed into unsweetened coffee, plain yogurt, unsweetened almond milk warmed on the stove, a low glycemic fruit smoothie, or oatmeal. Cacao powder can also be added to banana oat pancake batter or egg crepes to give a chocolate flavor without any sugar. The flavor is intensely cacao bitter that pairs well with stevia or with the natural sweetness of ripe banana. Label warning. Always choose 100% pure unsweetened cacao powder. Avoid hot cocoa mixes, hot chocolate packets, and drinking chocolate powders even in their diet versions because they contain added sugar or other ingredients that compromise the glycemic profile. The correct product has only 1 ingredient in the list, cacao powder, nothing else. In the US, Nevada's organic cacao powder, Anoni's organic cacao powder, and Ghirardelli 100% cacao are widely available and reliable. To summarize, the 5 types in ascending order of flavonoid concentration and descending glycemic impact. Dark chocolate, 70% GI22, best entry point balancing pleasant flavor and glycemic protection, 20 to 30 gram per day. Dark chocolate, 85% or more higher flavonoids, less sugar. Study with 60 diabetics showing improvement of inflammatory markers, 20 to 25 gram per day. 100% chocolate and cacao nibs, 0 sugar. Maximum flavonoid concentration in solid form. Best used as ingredient in small amounts. Sugar-free chocolate with erythritol or stevia. Glycemic impact near 0. Watch for maltitol hidden in the label. Lily is a reliable U.S. brand. Pure cacao powder. Highest flavonoid concentration per gram. Systematic review evidence showing HbA1c improvement in type 2 diabetics. 25 to 30 g per day mixed into beverages and recipes. Chocolate is not forbidden for the diabetic. The wrong chocolate is. And now you know exactly which is right in what amount and what to look for on the label so the food industry can't mislead you. And one final thought on food guilt that is worth saying clearly. Research in nutritional psychology shows that people who feel guilty after eating tend to eat more, not less, in the hours that follow in a cycle of restriction and compensation that worsens metabolic control over time. When you understand that 2 squares of 85% dark chocolate have a GI of 22, contain flavonoids that improve insulin sensitivity, and consumed at the end of a meal have minimal glycemic impact. The guilt loses its foundation, and without guilt, natural portion control becomes much easier. You eat 2 squares, feel satisfied, and stop. That is the cycle that works for the diabetic. Not absolute prohibition, not compensatory excess. Knowledge that liberates and at the same time protects. Comment below. Did you already eat any of these 5 types? And which one are you going to try first? Tell me. Share this video with someone who has diabetes and who lives with guilt every time they think about chocolate. That person deserves to know the truth. And if you want a 30-day path already built with breakfast, lunch, and dinner using simple, affordable food, it's in the Glucose Control Practical Guide in the pinned comment right below this video. You don't need more scattered advice. You need a plan that works with the real life you have. You know that less than 1% of people who watch our videos subscribe to the channel? If this content made a difference for you today, hit the subscribe button. It's free. It makes sure YouTube keeps showing you this information, and it helps this work continue every week for you. I'm Dr. Sarah Walker, and remember, the problem was never chocolate. It was not knowing which chocolate. See you in the next video. One more thought specifically for American diabetics navigating the chocolate aisle. The U.S. chocolate market is one of the most misleading in the world when it comes to health claims. Terms like antioxidant-rich, made with real cacao, premium dark chocolate, and even 60% cacao can appear on products that still have sugar as their first or second ingredient. The Hershey's Special Dark Bar, for example, which many Americans believe is a healthy dark chocolate option, contains sugar as its first ingredient before cacao. The same is true of many Dove Dark and other mainstream American dark chocolate bars. The products that genuinely deliver the benefits we discussed today are those with cacao or cacao mass as the first ingredient, with fewer than 15 grams of sugar per 40 gram serving, and with ingredient lists of 4 or fewer items. Brands like Lindt Excellence, Green and Black's Organic, Alter Echo, and Theo Chocolate consistently meet these criteria and are available at most U.S. grocery stores. Lily's for sugar-free. Navitas for cacao nibs and 100% cacao. These are the brands worth knowing by name, and a final practical strategy that ties all 5 types together. Keep a small piece of dark chocolate at home, specifically for after dinner, 2 squares. That's it. After a meal with protein, fiber, and vegetables, those 2 squares of 85% dark chocolate have minimal glycemic impact, deliver flavonoids that work while you sleep, and satisfy the dessert urge completely. Research in behavioral nutrition shows that having a planned small indulgence is dramatically more effective for long-term dietary compliance than attempting complete elimination. The diabetic who allows themselves 2 squares of excellent dark chocolate after dinner 3 nights a week is far less likely to have a large unplanned chocolate episode than the diabetic who bans all chocolate entirely. Plan the pleasure, control the portion, choose the right type. That combination is what sustainable blood sugar management actually looks like in real daily